Hello and welcome to Defense Dynamics. This is India's leading television show that decodes the future of warfare, defense technology and diplomacy. I am Danveer Singh, your host connecting from New Delhi. This week, 4 stories that signal India's rising defense confidence, starting from new missile deals and production lines to naval cooperation with Australia, and a Chinese move that could shake up global defense supply chains. And also at the end, I will be having my take on Pakistan's discomfort as India-Afghanistan ties warm up. But before that, let's catch up with the global defense headlines first.
India hosts the United Nations Troop Contributing Countries Chiefs Conclave in New Delhi from October 14 to 16. Senior military leaders from 32 nations gathered to discuss operational challenges and emerging global threats to peacekeeping. The event aimed to strengthen cooperation, share best practices, and enhance future peacekeeping effectiveness. Defense Minister Mr. Rajnath Singh inaugurated the UN Troop Contributing Countries Chiefs Conclave in New Delhi. Chiefs and head of delegations shared their perspectives on interoperability, inclusivity, and technology in peacekeeping. The 3-day event also featured defense exhibitions, bilaterals, and cultural exchanges. The 4th edition of Exercise Austria-Hind between Indian and Australian armies commenced at Perth's Irwin Barracks. The drill focuses on interoperability and joint operations in urban and semi-urban terrains. Coinciding with Defence Minister Mr. Rajnath Singh's visit, it underscores deepening defence cooperation and mutual trust. By September end, Ministry of Defence utilised over 50% of its 1.8 lakh crore rupees capital outlay for the financial year 2025-26. Spending of rupees 92,211 crore rupees ensures timely delivery of key military platforms and systems. A delegation led by DG Parmesh Swamy is representing India at 21st Heads of Asian Coast Guard Agencies meeting in Sydney. Bilateral talks with Thailand's Maritime Enforcement Command Centre focused on law enforcement and maritime cooperation. This engagement reaffirms India's commitment to regional security in the Indo-Pacific region.
The United Kingdom and India have inked a £350 million missile deal, a move that blends old ties with new strategic intent. Under this agreement, UK-based MBDA will supply lightweight multirole missiles for India's armed forces. The pact also opens door to technology sharing and future co-development, especially in engine systems and sensors.
Britain signed a £350 million contract to supply the Indian Army with UK-manufactured lightweight missiles. This is part of a deepening weapons and defence partnership between the two countries. This announcement came as British Prime Minister Keir Starmer was visiting his Indian counterpart, Prime Minister Mr. Narendra Modi in Mumbai, where the pair hailed the potential of commercial links from their months-old trade deal. But the question is, does this deal strengthen Atmanirbhar or sideline it? Experts say selective imports that enable technology infusion are vital, provided they don't create a long-term dependency.
India's goal is partnership-driven production and not procurement-driven dependency. This deal strengthens Atmanirbharta or the self-reliance.
The British government has said that new contract for lightweight multirole missiles made by Thales in Northern Ireland would secure 700 jobs at a factory which currently makes the same weapons for Ukraine. The deal paves the way for a broader complex weapons partnership between the United Kingdom and India. currently under negotiation between the two governments.
With the UK seeking post-Brexit strategic footholds and India chasing precision and lethality, this partnership could redefine transcontinental defence collaboration.
India and the UK government-to-government deal for British lightweight multirole missiles, the LMMs, for the Indian Army's tactical units will be a major boost for India's armed forces. The LMMs are also being used by Ukrainian armed forces against the Russian troops. As the name suggests, the missile, manufactured by Thales, United Kingdoms, can be fired by an infantry soldier integrated with an armored vehicle and also with the helicopter and the naval gunships. For the army, it can take out threats ranging from light armored, wheeled and tracked vehicles to aerial platforms within a distance of 6 kilometers. LMM, which is based on laser beam guidance, is available on shoulder launch, tripod and vehicle configuration. Weighing a mere 13 kgs, the missile has a velocity of 1.5 Mach and has been in service with the British military since the year 2019.
This missile is also known as the Martlet missile. It is named after a mythical bird that never roosts. The British Army has integrated this missile with its helicopter units as well as some naval platforms. It is designed for an urban environment, implying that it could well target terror launch pads closer to the western borders and the line of control. This week, there have been two major milestones in India's defense ecosystem. First, the commissioning of Navy's new static firing facility Trinetra in Visakhapatnam, and second, the HAL's new Tejas Mk-1A Alpha production line in Nashik.
Trinetra, Sanskrit for the third eye, will allow high energy testing of missiles and rockets, giving India an indigenous validation ecosystem for complex propulsion systems. And in Nashik, Defense Minister will roll out the first Tejas Mk-1A from the second assembly line, doubling India's fighter jet production capacity from 8 to 16 aircrafts per year. The Indian Navy has inaugurated a state-of-the-art static firing facility named Trinetra at the Eastern Naval Command in Visakhapatnam. The new test complex marks a critical step in enhancing India's indigenous weapon testing ecosystem. The facility has been indigenously designed and developed, a key stride towards Atmanirbhar, thus reducing dependence on foreign manufacturers for weapon life extension and testing support. It embodies India's growing capability to validate and sustain advanced naval armament through homegrown technology. Trinetra will enable scientific assessment of combat worthiness of naval weapon systems by capturing key performance parameters of missiles, rockets and related systems. The real-time data generated here will refine weapons reliability and boost operational precision for frontline naval units. The commissioning of Trinetra is a major milestone in Navy's weapon testing infrastructure, reinforcing its commitment to Atmanirbharta and ensuring enhanced combat readiness and mission capability. With this, the Indian Navy gains a sharper eye for precision, a third eye aptly named Trinetra.
Together with Trinetra at Visakhapatnam and HAL's new Tejas Mk-1 Alpha production line in Nashik, these two reflect a maturing industrial base where India's military readiness is powered increasingly by its own factories and not foreign warehouses. With production lines humming and test stands firing, India's defense indigenization drive is moving from vision to velocity. As China expands its footprint across Indo-Pacific region, India and Australia are drawing closer, not just diplomatically, but underwater. These two nations have signed a new security deal covering joint military talks, intelligence sharing, and submarine cooperation. The pact could include coordinated submarine rescue operations and logistics interoperability between these two countries.
India and Australia have taken a major step forward in defense cooperation. Defense Minister Mr. Rajnath Singh and Richard Marles signed a new bilateral security deal in Canberra, a move both sides say strengthens Indo-Pacific stability. The agreement establishes a new forum for joint staff talks between the two militaries and expands submarine rescue cooperation. Australia described India as a top-tier security partner, emphasizing the growing convergence of strategic interests in the Indo-Pacific region. Rajnath Singh's visit marks the first by an Indian defense minister to Australia since year 2013. Richard Marles said the new agreement reflected the significant growth of our defense partnership and a shared ambition for its future. India's growing defense engagement with Australia was on full display in July, when it joined the Talisman Sabre exercise for the first time. The biennial drill, which began in year 2005 as a US-Australian exercise, has evolved into a massive multinational event with over 35,000 personnel from 19 nations participating this year. India and Australia are already connected through the Quad Alliance, alongside United States and Japan, committed to ensuring free, open and secure Indo-Pacific. The latest agreement deepens that cooperation through structured military dialogues and expanded operational linkages. Experts say the visit holds deep strategic significance as India strengthens partnership across the Indo-Pacific, balancing China's growing assertiveness. Analysts note that while India maintains strategic autonomy, cooperation through frameworks like the Quad provides it with greater maneuverability in regional diplomacy. The pact with India comes as Australia broadens its regional defense network, recently signing a treaty with Papua New Guinea that integrates their armed forces. Together, these moves underline Canberra's effort to play a larger role in Indo-Pacific defense architecture.
From high-level talks to joint exercises and now a formal security pact, India and Australia are shaping a defense partnership built on shared trust, interoperability and common goals. Stability in Indo-Pacific is the agenda. For India, it's not just about Indian Ocean anymore. It's about building alliances that extend the deterrence into Pacific region. China has expanded its rare earth export control in October 2025, thus imposing stricter licensing requirements on export of certain rare earth minerals and related processing technologies. Citing national security concerns, Beijing's move primarily targets the global defense and semiconductor industries, which heavily rely on rare earths for advanced technology.
China has again weaponized trade, this time by tightening controls on rare earth exports critical to defense and semiconductor manufacturing. Beijing's new export restrictions come just ahead of a major diplomatic summit, signaling how strategic materials have become a bargaining chip in global geopolitics. For India, which imports most of its rare earths through indirect routes, the challenge is urgent to develop domestic extrication, recycling, and joint ventures with nations like Australia and Vietnam.
China has fired another shot in the global technology war, tightening control over the rare earths that power everything, from smartphones and electric vehicles to missiles and fighter jets. The new regulations announced by Beijing have sent shockwaves through the defense and semiconductor industries.
Beijing has expanded its export control list, adding 5 new rare earth elements, bringing the total to 12. The restrictions don't just cover raw materials, they also target technologies used in mining, refining, magnet manufacturing, and recycling. Any company using Chinese technology in these areas must now obtain an export license. Even foreign firms using Chinese origin technology or materials outside of China fall under the new control regime. In effect, Beijing is exporting its regulations worldwide. And when it comes to defense or advanced chip making, approvals will be rare, literally. The Chinese Commerce Ministry says export license will be in principle be denied for overseas defense contractors and scrutinized for semiconductor firms making sub-14 nanometer chips.
How China will enforce these rules on foreign companies remains unclear, but non-compliance could mean being cut off from Chinese suppliers altogether. The uncertainty alone is enough to rattle global supply chains.
As the world's largest rare earth producer, China's move is disrupting production across sectors: electronics, electric vehicles, wind turbines, and defense systems. Analysts see this as more than a trade ploy. It's a bargaining chip ahead of the expected Xi-Trump summit. By squeezing rare earth exports, Beijing gains leverage in global negotiations. The fallout could be costly. Semiconductor giants like TSMC may face delays of 1 to 2 quarters due to materials shortages. And as companies scramble for alternatives, the prices for chips, magnets, and defense-grade components are set to rise. The United States and its allies are now accelerating their plans to build domestic rare earth supply chains from Australia to Africa to break Beijing's monopoly. For India, which still imports most of its rare earth magnets from China, the challenge is urgent. Building indigenous capacity is not just an economic goal, it's a national security imperative.
By controlling the flow of these minerals, China is effectively controlling the pace of global innovation and the pulse of modern warfare. In this strategic game, the next arms race may not be fought with weapons, but with metals. As global powers pivot to mineral self-reliance, the real battlefield of 21st century may not lie in the oceans or skies, but underground. Pakistan's discomfort over Afghan Foreign Minister Amir Khan Muttaqi's visit to India is rooted in fear of losing its monopoly over Afghanistan's political narrative and influence. For decades, Islamabad considered Kabul its strategic backyard, using the Taliban as a proxy to secure strategic depth against India. But Taliban's outreach to New Delhi, especially at a time when Pakistan's own economy is collapsing and its influence in Kabul is fading, signals a big shift. The Taliban's willingness to engage India diplomatically and economically undermines Pakistan's long-held assumption that Kabul will always align with Islamabad's interests. New Delhi, by maintaining contact without formal recognition, has positioned itself as a pragmatic power, one that can talk to all sides while protecting its security and developmental stakes. Moreover, Taliban leaders are increasingly frustrated with Pakistan's heavy-handed approach, including border clashes, visa restrictions, and economic blackmail. India, on the other hand, offers legitimacy, connectivity, and investment, things Pakistan can no longer guarantee. So, Pakistan's anxiety isn't just about one visit. It's about erosion of its influence in the region it once controlled and re-emergence of India as a responsible and a stabilizing partner for Afghanistan's future. That's all for this week on Defense Dynamics. Do share your thoughts on social media with #DD with Danveer. See you next week. Till then, goodbye and take care.